The first 11 weeks of the AUDL season have been filled with drama, intensity, and so many insane moments. But the one thing we still haven't seen is a Boston-New York Ultimate Showdown. The good news is that changes tonight as the Boston Glory make their first ever trip to New York to take their best shot at the defending champs. Our Free Friday Frisbee regular season finale features Boston and New York. And it's all coming up here on the DraftKings Dream stream. Next. Great to be back in New York City, home of the defending AUDL champions. And tonight at Focina Field, we make a little more history. The first ever AUDL showdown between two great sports cities, Boston and New York. The Glory looking to play spoiler. Meanwhile, the Empire still with work to do, even though they enter tonight tied for first place. The top four teams in the Atlantic Division all make the playoffs, but only the top two get home field, and currently just a half game separating DC, New York, Raleigh, and Atlanta. Hey everybody, Evan Leffler with Charlie Eisenhood. It's been an amazing season with DraftKings and otherwise, and we are at the home stretch, Charlie. Playoffs start next Saturday night in San Diego, but it's hard to believe tonight we get Boston, New York for the first time. What are you thinking about?
To have to wait all the way to the end of the season. In some ways it feels right because it doesn't take – you don't have to be a big Ultimate fan to understand Boston versus New York. And let me tell you, this has just as much history as Yankees-Red Sox. Maybe not between these two teams, but you think about the long history that these two cities have done battle against each other in Ultimate. Now we get it tonight on the AUDL field. Can't wait.
Historically, pre-AUDL times, arguably more Boston, New York Ultimate success than any two other cities in the country. Ben Sadok is the star of this Boston team. It just had an insane year statistically, and he's been the dedicated diehard. He's been active every game.
He shows up, and he puts up the numbers. And it's really more than the stats. I mean, he's the leader of this team. Almost 95% completion percentage on over 3,000 throwing yards. He's one of the best handlers in the league, and he's also one of the most dynamic. He can get downfield and score. It's what makes him special.
He's a big game player. So is Ben Yott, 2019 AUDL MVP, making a pretty good case to be the league's most valuable player again in 2021. Look at the numbers. They are unparalleled around the league.
Incredible. I mean, just the ability to use his size, his smarts. He goes up over everybody. Can't wait for the matchups tonight. Him against Chris Bartoli is going to be a blast. And yeah, he's trying to make kind of the final case for his MVP back-to-back. And we'll see if he can pull it off. And if anybody can do it, it's Ben Yott.
Currently number one in the league in plus-minus. Also number one in the league in receiving yards. But hey, Chris Bartoli's had some success when matching up against Ben Yott, both in the college days and at the club level before joining the AUDL. We're excited for Free Friday Frisbee tonight. MKBHD in the house. A little pickup basketball on an adjacent court. Boston having some fun. The first ever meeting between Boston and New York. Get your pregame meal ready. And it's all smiles tonight for Jack Williams. Opening poll, Glory and Empire coming up next.
They say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is at DraftKings. You can compete for thousands in prizes in our free-to-play pools without spending a dime. Put your knowledge to the test by answering questions about specific games or events. The more you pick right, the better your shot to win and chow down on a cash casserole. Casserole. Download the DraftKings app now. Enter with the promo code PLAYFREE for thousands and make it rain.
Welcome back to Focina Field here in New Rochelle. Opening poll a moment away, but first let's check out the keys to the game, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. What you got, Charlie?
Well, for Boston, it's about trying to make this into a rivalry. You know, it's not one yet. You might think about Boston versus New York. We talked about it in the Open, but this Glory team has to come out here and prove something against this New York team. They're not going to the playoffs this year, and they have to make this game count for next season. On the other side of the disc, New York Empire, well, they got to slow down these big guys for Boston who have had a lot of success this season. Tanner Halkyard, Orion Cable, they've been dominating. No Tanner Johnson tonight, but those two alone are plenty to handle.
New York's going to begin this game on offense. Elliot Chartok, the league's leader in passing yards per game. Ben Yott, Ryan Oscar are two of the top 3 in receiving yards per game. There's a lot of big name guys on this Empire O-line, which frankly may separate them from the rest of the competition in the division. We will see if that's true down the stretch. A reminder, Ultimate fans, you can play in the free AUDL pool on DraftKings for a shot at $1,000 in prizes. Just answer the series of questions on the results of the second half, and if you get enough correct, and take home your share of $1,000. Download the DraftKings app and sign up with a promo code AUDL. Boston going to begin this game on defense. Looks like Brendan McCann getting ready to launch the opening pull. Mike Sanello, the head official, orchestrating everything, and we are about set to go. Obviously, the last time that I was here, the crazy New York Raleigh finish.
Incredible game.
If we get a game half as exciting as that one down the stretch, we'll be doing pretty well tonight. First ever meeting between Boston and New York is underway. And let's take a look at the matchups. Max Rick is on Ryan Oscar this first possession. Here's Ryan Weaver, picked up by Alex Donadio. Jack Williams in the middle of the field. And here's Oscar floating it to the end zone, and there's Elliot Chartok doing something he hasn't done a ton of this year, catching a goal.
Well, he's taking advantage of having a handler defender on him, maybe a little less comfortable getting downfield, and he was getting open all over the place. And I expect a lot of this tonight. These offensive lines are some of the best in the league. Neither defense is really going to be able to shut down 1-7, and I think we could see very efficient scoring, a very good opening possession for the Empire.
These are, in fact, 2 of the top 3 scoring offenses in the entire league. And you're right, Boston is in the bottom 4 defensively. New York is in the middle of the pack. They're ranked 10th defensively out of everybody. Elliot Chartok came into tonight with 4 goals scored in 8 games, 28 assists. So there's his 5th goal of the year for the Stanford product. And now we see the Boston offense, which is missing Tanner Johnson, but they do have Orion Cable and Tanner Halkyard, along with Ben Sadok, orchestrating in the backfield. And Henry Babcock as well has had a really fine first AUDL season. Brownlee on Halkyard on the first point. Halkyard floating it downfield for Cable. Makes a flat-footed catch with Babbitt lurking. Here's Sadok 5 yards out. Took New York 33 seconds to score. Going to take Boston a little bit longer, but score they will. Halkyard into the end zone for Topher Davis. And we're even 1-1 here in the first.
Very smooth sailing for both O-lines to start. Just comfortable moving the disc, throwing fakes when they need to. Babcock moving the mark, and then just sending it around the horn. Nothing fancy, just good flow offense from both teams on their opening possessions.
A couple of those throws from Tanner Halkyard are not throws you would see if there was any wind whatsoever, but it is perfectly calm right now. So every tool is available. What a season Tanner Halkyard has had. Really making a name for himself. With,
not somebody that a lot of people had circled coming into the season as one of the top bigs in the league, but he really has established himself as one of the best deep cutters in the AUDL.
Halkyard after that now needs 2 assists to become just the 6th player in the league with at least 25 goals and at least 25 assists this year. Ben Yott obviously on that list. Indy's Levi Jacobs, Pittsburgh's CJ Colicchio, Austin's emerging young star Eric Broadbeck, and then the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds top star Max Shepard. Second 0 point for the Empire.
little poaching from Boston, but Empire works right through it.
Ben Yacht being chased by Cam Warner, who's playing his second game for Boston. He became an ultimate star at Cal Poly SLO, kind of before it was cool to be great at Cal Poly SLO. That program has really come onto the scene in a huge way at the national level over the recent 2-3 years.
He's a big part of that.
Shooting it deep, Warner there, and he gets a piece of it. Warner D's up Yacht on the first deep shot of the game.
Well, we heard from Coach Sam Rosenthal that it was going to be a mix of Bartoli and Warner on Yacht, and that's a great start for the Boston D-line.
Warner primarily guarded Max Shepard last week in the game against Pittsburgh, his glory debut. And Yacht gets a piece of it. It's still hanging up there, and Yacht swats it down a second time. Only gets one block for that, Charlie, in the official stats. Yeah, Sam Rosenthal, the glory coach, said, I could just see Max Shepard getting frustrated when Warner was on him. Like, how is he not further than 6 inches away from me? Gene LaRue bids by Williams, gets up, sets a mark. Oh, a little tough, cheeky, rising backhand to Osgar. And moving the mark and then juggling it. Elliot Chartok hangs on for the score. He's got 2 goals in the opening 3 minutes.
Well, everybody knew Elliot Chartok was going to score the 2 opening goals for the New York Empire. Some nice defensive pressure from Boston there, and just smart offense from the Empire. This is why when they are at their best, when they are playing their best, this is the #1 offense in the league. First, Warner, look at the closing speed and the ability to get up off the ground, get that right hand up, just get a piece of the disc, avoiding contact with Yacht, but then Yacht the other way, double block for him. And then watch the handler defense here. Yacht looking at the reset and selling out to the backfield. Ryan Osgar recognizes, gets up the line, a little fake, and then right into the end zone. Chartok bobbles but hangs on.
I wonder what DraftKings odds would have been on Elliot Chartok scoring the first 2 goals of the game. He has scored 1 goal in New York's last 6 games. He's got 2 goals in 3 minutes tonight. 1,000 to 1, 150 to 1.
They don't even dare put a line on it, Evan.
No. One day. Boston with a nice leaping grab underneath. And here's Halkier downfield, floating it for Orion Cable.
So much respect for Cable. Just getting backed by 10 yards.
Call downfield moves Cable 10 yards further toward the end zone. He's about 21 yards away, and he'll swing it for Henry Babcock. He's matched up with Angelo Olchese, swinging it for Sadok, chased by Sam Fetter. Sadok bluffs the Scoober and pulls it back for Cole Davis Brand. Halkier to the end zone. Sadok is there.
So the handlers getting the job done in the end zone for both teams. A little bit more commonplace for Ben Sadok. And immediately better defense from both teams on the second possession, but the offense is hanging in there. We've got a fun game to start here, 2-2.
And only Ryan Osgar and Tanner Halkyard have thrown scores through the first 4 points. 2 apiece for their respective teams.
But I mean, this is a feature of great offensive lines. Both Halkyard and Cable are getting back, so they're coming underneath and they're facilitating instead of just trying to force the issue and get open deep. And as the course of the game rolls along, we're going to start to see the defenders push up a little bit more, trying to take away that underneath space, and that's when they're going to go hit you deep.
By the way, Ben Sadok with that goal joins the group of 25 goals and assists. So Sadok is the 6th member of that group. Halkyard now 1 assist away from joining it as well. By the way, in the second quarter of this game tonight, we're going to be joined by the 2019 AUDL Coach of the Year, who led the New York Empire to the championship. Brian Jones is in the house, and he's going to pop in the booth for the second quarter. Deep shot, Osgar involved in all 3 scores in the opening 5 minutes for New York.
This Empire offense just feels unfair.
Sure does.
I mean, Jack Williams throwing to John Lithio, out to the outside for Chartok, and then this is just easy. Look at Osgar's foot speed here. He just blows by his defender. It's just over. And if it's not Osgar, it's Yacht. And if it's not Yacht, it's Jack Williams. And we know that John Lithio can go out there and pile up the score. So a lot of fun watching this team when they're at their most focused.
Officially, Charlie, that went as a 46-yard throw from Osgar, or from Chartok to Osgar, the first huck of the night. Huck being any throw that's 40 yards or more. Can Boston answer right back? Certainly feels in the opening half of this first quarter that breaks are going to be at a premium tonight. New York coming off a sweep last weekend over Pittsburgh and Philly. We were in Philly last Friday night for a perhaps closer than many expected game. Empire just winning by 1, 20-19. Taking down Pittsburgh by 4 one night later. Hanging up there, and the birthday boy, Josue Oloro, gets the block. Josue turning 29 today, and you know it's Ben Yacht's birthday too. They were born on the same day, August 20th, 1992. Oloro repping the Empire D-line, and the first break opportunity here for New York. Rushmeyer-Bailey hits Oloro. And going over the stack, Mike Drost has it. And the Empire break first.
What a difference it makes to have Jose Oloro back in the lineup for New York. He missed a bunch of games in the middle of the season due to an injury, but he goes out there, gets the block, and then marshals the point. And that's a great catch by Drost, but really it's the vision on the throw. But first, let's take a look at the block. Getting up over the top of Ben Sadok. And then surveys the field, little pump fake, and then smooth cross-field forehand into the hands of Drost.
Of course, with the two birthday boys, I had to find out when in the day they were each born to learn who's the older one. So I asked Ben Yacht first. He was born at 5:30 a.m. on this day 29 years ago. Oloro was born at 3:30 p.m. However, Oloro was born in the Philippines, which is 12 hours ahead. So while Oloro is actually 10 hours younger by birth certificate, he's been on the earth for 2 hours longer. I was really enjoying myself doing the math pregame.
Very good, very good.
Contested deep shot. Jack Williams out there defensively, but it's ripped down. An impressive grab by Nick Thompson. Davis doubled, finds the space to squeeze it through, and the glory avoid a turnover on the second straight point. It is Babcock scoring the goal.
Not the best spot to try to double team, just giving up on the cutter in the end zone. Just a little easy move. What a catch by Thompson.
And when this throw went up, Halkert could not have felt great about it.
In between two defenders, holding off Jack Williams effectively, then just chipping it out. And there comes a double team and just giving up on Babcock at the front cone.
Everyone can rehydrate, replenish, energize the body and soul with electrolytes, vitamins, no artificial flavors. It's just the right
Henry
amount of
Babcock.
caffeine.
Such an exciting young player for this. I mean, it really feels like, in a way, the future of, you know, the primary Boston handler.
Did you get to watch him much when he was at Richmond and D3 Nationals?
Yeah, watched him win at D3 National Championships.
Minnesota's Andrew Roy, now
right.
wind chill star, then with Davidson in that Davidson-Richmond final.
Winning the Donovan Award, highest honors in D3 Ultimate.
Ben Yacht, the other birthday boy. Isn't that fascinating? He's 10 hours older on birth certificate, but he's been around actually 2 hours less than Oloro because of the time zones. I say my daughter was born in 1 month Eastern time, but another month Central time. The doctors promised that she would be in 1 month, and then she came 26 after midnight. Deep shot to the end zone, and it's Lithio.
scored by number 54, John Lithio. Assisted, that's his third assist.
When did you first hear about Lithio as a difference maker for the Empire?
Week 1, Evan. He showed up, and DC was not prepared to deal with John Lithio, and he was doing a lot of this, getting open deep and catching goals. And it's such a difficult matchup problem because you have to put size on him if you really want to try to slow him down. But there's too many other big, talented players on this Empire offense. So he ends up getting the 4th or 5th defender, and he's able to go to work.
He's had a really fine season as an AUDL rookie. That's his 31st goal. And Ryan Oscar on his way to a huge statistical night if he maintains this pace. He's got 3 assists and 1 goal already.
Yeah, Lithio averaging 3.3 goals a game, almost an assist a game, and under a turnover a game. It's just great, efficient offensive player.
Marquez Brownlee getting set to launch the pull.
Beautiful night here in New Rochelle.
Yes, indeed. He's just going to roll that one out of bounds. Of course, the Empire, as much as any team in the league, have had success in late game moments against both Atlanta and Raleigh in trapping teams on the sideline and D'ing up hammers downfield. One Raleigh player after that game said, this one hanging in the air, but Willie Stewart's going to get there, said he didn't think New York's double team was that special. He thought the fact that Jeff Babbitt roaming in one of the wing spaces is what made them special, because you think about that as a handler, as a thrower, and forces you to be a little bit more precise. Be nice if we got a deep shot or two to Orion Cable with Jeff Babbitt there defensively. Sign up for that matchup. So far, Cable's been a decoy, and that shot to the end zone denied by Marquez Brownlee, but there may be a foul, and Willie Stewart, I think, is going to get the call. Boston will keep the disc, it appears, as Stewart fouled by Brownlee on a tight window shot.
Well, it was tight to the sideline. It was a dangerous pass, but I think no real option for the defender besides going through Stewart.
And over the double team, Stewart blades it to the end zone. Cole Davis Brand has the goal.
Glory goal scored number 31, Cole Davis.
We'll look forward to taking a look at the replay of this sideline play. I mean, big reaction from Stewart getting the call, and then really just holding the disc in exactly the position where he knows he wants to throw it. Bartoli getting ready to head back out on the line. Let's take another look. Here's the throw up the sideline. So Brownlee, yeah, just pretty much going directly through Stewart. I mean, that was his only play. I mean, if you're going to try to make that play, you got to go to the outside and not go through the body like that. Easy call for the referees. And a nice little throw, blade into the end zone from Stewart for the goal.
Sam Rosenthal in the red shirt on the right. Jay Tallerman, one of the owners of this Boston franchise, in the blue shirt on the left.
I talked to Rosenthal before the game and talked a bit about the season so far. And he said, obviously they're frustrated not to make the playoffs, but that it's just been a season about building. First game versus Pittsburgh, super quiet bus ride with a lot of guys from a lot of different teams who didn't necessarily know each other that well. And now they're having a good time. They know each other. They're building a culture and trying to get ready for next year. Just their first season in the AUDL.
And that inexperience has cost them in some tight, close games late. Matt Stevens with a rare deep shot. John Lithio pays it off. What a snag by the ultimate veteran to the Empire rookie.
Matt Stevens been playing in this league a long time, and this is not the kind of throw that he typically makes, but man, he's got big eyes for John Lithio, and why not? It's because he's able to make plays like this one. Not a perfect throw, coming in kind of straight over Lithio's head, no problem. He goes up and gets it, bodies out the defender. Big score from Lithio, his second. And this one maybe wants to be a little further to the outside, but Lithio gives Stevens the assist.
And just the 4th assist of the year for Stevens, who's been active in every game.
And there it is, a couple goals, 100 yards of offense.
Sadok matched up with Fetter. Poaching in the lane, Mike Dross may have prevented the deep shot. High throw over Cable, and that's hard to do. Nasser Mbaye-Vogel, the ageless French star, picks up the disc. And here's Connor Klein. Reason Connor Klein's play in defense is to give New York a little more firepower in these types of situations. And Empire going to take the timeout. The O-line's coming on the field. 2:25 remaining in the first. One of the reasons it was surprising to see that disc float over Orion Cable is because he literally can jump higher than anyone else in the AUDL, and we got the footage to prove it. After their game against Tampa Bay, he was barefoot on the sidelines and just casually jumps for a disc that's 11 feet 8 inches in the air.
He's at bare feet, Evan. Are you kidding me? 11 feet 8 inches. I mean, this guy could dunk a basketball no problem.
On an 11-foot hoop.
And he's just entering his freshman year in college at the University of Massachusetts. I mean, that right there shows you why he is considered one of the best recruits coming into college in a very long time. Orion Cable is going to be a special player. He's already making a huge difference for this Boston Glory team.
Started playing in middle school in Amherst, Massachusetts. Staying home to play for Tina Booth, Russell Wallach at UMass. Just his presence has to put them in the conversation for top contenders at Nationals. College Nationals are expected to be in December this year, making up for the missed spring Nationals. Of course, we missed it in 2020, missed it in 2021. Certainly going to be different, but hopefully. Well, deep shot goes up. This throw may not be coming back. Chartok.
Well, the D-line doesn't like to see that.
No.
Timeout called. O-line comes in. First throw turnover.
Chartok kind of shaking his head, like wondering what happened.
Yeah, not the kind of mistake you typically see from Chartok, who's been very good this season in his first year with the Empire.
He has, but there's obvious comparisons to Harper Garvey. And look, the Empire coaches are not shy about saying that they want the shot to be taken by the downfield guys, specifically Ryan Osgar and Jack Williams. They want Chartok to get the offense going and then be more of a reset. They don't need him to be a playmaker.
Well, Yacht was open there, just a poor throw.
Here's Gene LaRue. Matched up with Lithio. Shoots it around the defender into triple coverage, but two offensive players are there, and Ben Yacht gets his second block. And, that's Braden Eberhardt holding his right knee.
An ill-advised throw. This hangs up. There's multiple defenders already in the area with backside help. Yacht able to come through on that backside, and Eberhardt goes down and immediately holds that right knee. Let's see what happened here.
And nothing vicious from a contact standpoint.
Didn't land on anybody's foot, just came down hard, maybe on a stiff leg. And you just hope that that's not a significant injury.
Eberhard, 24 years old, one of the several BYU alums that has made an impact across the AUDL this year. Got Joe Merrill with the DC Breeze, obviously Jordan Kerr and Jacob Miller with the San Jose Spiders. For like Cal Poly SLO, one of the vastly improving college programs in the country at Brigham Young in Provo, Utah.
Offers all orthopedic specialties in Westchester, New York City, and New Jersey. So no matter where you are,
hopefully Braden will be all right to keep going, playing in his 6th game of the season tonight for the Boston Glory.
The official beer brewery partner of the AUDL. Family and employee-owned Deschutes Brewery has crafted some of the finest beers in America for 33 years. When choosing your next beer,
tough to watch somebody have to get helped off the field.
From Deschutes Brewery.
I hope just a tweak, but he doesn't even look like he wants to put any weight on it at all. Just giving it a little bit of a try here.
Not what Sam Rosenthal wants when they got 2 games on the agenda this weekend. I mean, they got the Philadelphia Phoenix on the road tomorrow, and that's a game that Boston's had circled on the calendar since Philly went up to Boston and upset the Glory. That was back in early July. Glory with 3 games left on the schedule, including tonight, today and tomorrow, New York and Philly, and then they'll host New York next Sunday in the rescheduling of their postponed game from earlier this year.
1 minute remaining in the quarter.
Final minute of the first. New York with its second chance to break on this point. O-line for the Empire out there because of a timeout call. That was 2 turnovers ago. Horizontal cut from Lithio. Oh, great defense by Cam Warner again on Jack Williams, but Chartok caught the deflection. Oh, better to be lucky than good sometimes because Cam Warner, they're testing him again, and Williams just shy of the goal line. Warner showing some moxie defensively here in the first quarter, but it is another goal for Chartok. His 3rd of the quarter, 19 seconds remaining, and that is an Empire break to take a 7-4 lead.
Well, that's when you like to have the offense out there, you know. In a way, the Glory O-line, or I guess the D-line at this point, kind of bailed them out. As they got the disc back after the immediate Chartok throwaway. But then throwing into triple coverage, Empire take it back, and then the offense just gets to go to work, and it's Chartok again finding the end zone. And, you know, talking to New York coach Charlie Hoppus before the game, he talked about how he feels that their O-line is the best in the league, but that sometimes when they get a lead, they kind of take their foot off the gas. And we've seen that a lot over the last few weeks, and it's something that he said they've really focused on for tonight, making sure they maintain the intensity and focus throughout the game.
10 seconds to go in the quarter. Can Boston score late? Sadok sending Halkyard. Pretty good shot, and Halkyard, like he's done all season long. Huge in the closing seconds.
That's a huge play. The spike in the background. And this is exactly the motion that you want to get. Bartoli chipping it back, and that's great because Sadok can see the field, and he's lefty, getting it out to the outside, and really just lobbing it up there and trusting Halkyard. I mean, Marquez Brownlee's a good deep defender and just didn't have a chance against Halkyard. He's been doing that to guys all season.
Marquez wasn't that far away from the block either, but Halkyard.
Look at that, the triple coverage on the mark. And Sadok up and over and into Halkyard. Brownlee's got to make the long walk. The big spike from Halkyard.
I'm really impressed with Halkyard's hands all season long. I mean, he comes down with some discs that are tough grabs. He's just hanging out in the end zone. Roller pull down the field. 2 seconds here for New York. Jack Williams is going to try to get it there. And this one has a chance. Right near the front of the end zone, Orion Cable says that's my spot.
He didn't even have to go up 11 feet and 8 inches to get that one.
That was like 10 and a half feet right there. Just getting warmed up. So, certainly a strong period for the Empire, but Boston wins the end of quarter situation, and the Glory will receive to start the second.
Yeah, both teams getting just a couple takeaways from the O-line, and it's just better job execution-wise from the D-line from New York. When they take the timeout, they get the offense on the field, they get those couple of breaks, and that's the difference in the game so far.
Alrighty, Empire leads 7-5 at the end of one. When we come back, former Empire coach Brian Jones, now an AUDL commentator, will pop in the booth for a little reminiscing about the past and thoughts about the playoff picture as we head into the upcoming weeks ahead. 7-5 Empire, done with 1 in New York.
They say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is at DraftKings. You can compete for thousands in prizes in our free-to-play pools without spending a dime. Put your knowledge to the test by answering questions about specific games or events. The more you pick right, the better your shot to win and chow down on a cash casserole. Casserole. Download the DraftKings app now. Enter with the promo code PLAYFREE for thousands and make it rain.
Well, there are the new head coaches, not really new anymore. They've been at the helm all season long. Charlie Hoppus and Anthony Nunez. Anthony without the full beard. Charlie has not shaved in quite some time. Over the past 4 Empire seasons, they've actually had 6 head coaches. Tom Gibbons resigned, giving way to C.J. Ouellette, who took over, and then Eileen Murray led the team the championship weekend in 2018. Hoppus and Nunez certainly doing a nice job at the helm this year, and they have replaced the man who joins us in the booth right now, Brian Jones, who was with me in Raleigh last week for that crazy Flyers comeback. Brian, what's happening?
You know, that was a fun game. Raleigh going on that 5-0 run to end it. And, yeah, we got a good one here against traditional Northeast rivals.
So does the coach that led the team to a championship have to pay for a ticket when he arrives at the gate at Focina Field?
Not if you're wearing an AUDL T-shirt, so you get in free for that.
You came as a member of the media. That's very savvy. What do you miss most about being the head coach of the New York Empire?
I think being with the guys. There are 2 guys that I think would have been fun to coach this year, especially Sam Feder and John Lithio. Those guys have a really big ceiling, and you just miss the opportunity to work with those guys and work with the people you've done so for 5 years.
What do you like that you've seen from John Lithio?
He's just steady and composed throughout the game. I mean, he's a sponge for information. We knew this in the early parts of 2020 when we were trying to start up right before the pandemic. And he just, he's getting used to it.
Hammer looking for Thompson, and that'll beat Ryan Drost by a step. And the Glory are back within 1. Again, they were down 7-4, but scoring the final goal in the first and then making it 2 straight to start the second.
Assisted by number 31.
Yeah, and this is just a good throw. I mean, Thompson's got a step. You got to get that hammer there quick if you're throwing against Ryan Drost, and snaps it down, drops it in.
Brian, I know this is a tricky question for you, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How would you compare the Empire in 2021 to the team that you built, among others, in 2019 when undefeated?
No, I think it's really different, and that's almost in a way to a benefit. There's a lot of pressure when you're defending a title, and when you replace the backfield in the way they did with Weaver and Elliott Shartok, you've got fresh blood. And so for them, this is all new, and it helps you figure things out. You're not trying to capture the magic that was there in 2019. You're trying to build something new, and I think that's what they're doing a good job of right now.
I know that you've known Charlie Hoppus and Anthony Nunez for a long time, and look, you're happy to talk Ultimate any time of the day or night. How much have you been in touch with them during the season, and how much have they asked for your advice? Have you purposefully tried to stay out of their way and not make any suggestions? What has that dynamic been like?
I think, I love talking Ultimate, so I can't help myself when I'm trying to give suggestions for things. But Charlie and Anthony are, great Ultimate minds. They know what they're doing, and they've been in the thick of it all season long. You've got to trust the men in the arena, so to speak.
Do you feel like this offensive line is as good as the one that won the championship in 2019?
I think it's got it in spurts. I think they've got a lot of talent spread out, and I think Weaver coming back from injury is pretty key. It just gives you an automatic reset in the backfield.
Yeah, throwing it to space. His old college teammate, Ryan Oscar, puts the Empire up by 2. That was a trust throw, if you ever seen one.
So many weapons out there for the Empire.
Brian, did you get to see Oscar practice at all before the pandemic shut things down in 2020 with you?
No, I didn't get that chance, but we've seen it in college and seen it elsewhere. I think one of the things that makes this team great is just, and other people have touched on it, is kind of like the ego death that occurs, and I think one of the big reasons for that is Jack Williams, is that he's a guy who has an MVP-like quality, but somehow doesn't find himself in the conversation, and he's not having the same level of stats. He's facilitating everybody else, Elliott Shartok to have the amount of throwing yards he has, Yacht to have the receiving yards, and Oscar to have the goals and assists. I think he is kind of the secret that makes this offense run.
It's interesting you mentioned that. I was having an off-air conversation with the AUDL's Adam Ruffner earlier this week about whether Jack's value makes life easier for Ben Yot or whether Ben Yot's value makes life easier for Jack, kind of in that MVP conversation.
Right, you get into trouble when you look for Jack, and you can also get bailed out deep with Yot.
Davis Brand denied by a bidding Marquez Brownlee.
He's just gotten better.
MKBHD going in full HD on that one. That was 4K block.
M by Vogel looking deep for Angelo Olchese. It's Babcock and Thompson there defensively. But goodness, what a grab. Olchese. Are they calling him for the push-off? Or was he fouled on the landing? Olchese, sky in the pack. Foul was on Boston on the landing. Olchese dumps it for Feder. What a play by another talented rookie. It's Connor Klein in the end zone. And the Empire back up by 3.
The Empire control their playoff destiny. They'll get a home game with wins this weekend and then next up in Boston. And they're playing with that fire so far here in the first half. My goodness. Marquez Brownlee. I mean, you've coached him in the past, Brian. Have you seen him take steps forward as a player?
It's been incredible. I mean, he's just continually raising his game, and in coaching him, he's another guy who's been kind of sponge-like, and just getting better and using that athleticism. You can see it here. He's always had this capability. It's so good.
And then on the other side, Olchese going up for it. And then just waiting patiently for the space to open up. Connor Klein into the end zone. And he's pumped up.
It's great to see this team be competitive this late in the season. And it's kind of great to have this rivalry game against Boston. Just pump it up, get ready to compete, because that's what's really important going into the playoffs is you just ready to compete. You don't want to go in flat.
Not too many guys in the entire AUDL have more picturesque layouts than Marquez Brownlee.
Oh, by the way, I should have said it was an 8K. I got to respect the MKBHD brand.
Yeah, wasn't there some discussion of making him the logo after 2019 championship weekend?
That great catch on the swing from Tristan Yarder. Sadok is sending Orion Cable with Jeff Babbitt there defensively. Babbitt tips it, and on the second effort, it finds the ground.
Oh, Babbitt pumping up the crowd.
Babbitt feels like he baited that one a little bit.
I mean, frankly, it was just a short throw from Sadok. If he puts another couple feet on that throw, I think Cable comes down with it no problem, but you cannot leave it short with Babbitt, and that's a fun matchup.
What's the most impressive thing you've seen Jeff Babbitt do athletically, Brian?
I think it was before an Ottawa game. He was windmill dunking over and over again when we were in Canada waiting for the game to start.
Sounds about right. You know, Jeff Babbitt often hears when he's standing on the sideline, someone will say, you're not as tall as I thought you were. He plays much bigger than the 6'1.5" that he's actually listed at.
Yeah, he claims he's 6 foot. He tells me this all the time, so that way, and he's taller than I am. He's definitely 6'3". I get it. I'm 6'2". I know this for a fact. He keeps trying to say I'm small.
Makes a lot of cutters feel small by skying over them.
Are you sure you're 6'2", Brian?
I'll have to get it checked out after this game.
Looking to Mike Drost.
Could have been a foul call. Didn't get it.
Mike Drost takes a timeout. Not a bad call there. His twin brother, Ryan, was standing wide open on the opposite side of the field. No defender within 20 yards. Being like, don't we have the telekinetic connection for you to hit me on there?
That's a really smart timeout call. It's not something you see often in the AUDL, to be honest. Almost always coach-initiated timeouts. But you're looking at a potential stall out as Jeff Babbitt getting the block on Cable. And you see Cable has to slow down and try to come back to the disc, and that gives just enough time for Babbitt to get there and knock it away.
Certainly a lot of more space deeper into the end zone to throw that disc.
But you know what? I mean, that's great deep defenders. Part of what they do is take advantage of slight mistakes, and there may be nobody better than that, than Jeff Babbitt.
He's just really automatic in kind of that space. It's a surprise when he doesn't come down with it. I mean, there were a few times where the disc went off his hand. There was one in like the double OT Raleigh game in 2019, and he was like just beside himself over it because he expects just to come down with everything. And it's just this,
that was
it's superhuman ability.
The end of overtime buzzer beater that went through Ben Katz's hands as well, right?
Yep, exactly. He's just, I mean, you just feel so good at the end of quarters. Like, how can you not?
So you brought up the Raleigh game 2 years ago. What were you thinking watching the end of the Raleigh game this year when the Empire were down by 2 and Raleigh had the disc with 34 seconds left?
I was battling with Noah Saul, or with Isaac Saul, because he was rooting for Noah in that moment. So
Well, good timeout. Osgard to Williams, and the Empire had their largest lead of the night.
Two-man game. And they don't have to do much. Ryan Osgard just waiting for Jack Williams to find some open space, and no problem getting it through to him. And 4-point lead now for the Empire.
Charlie, I mean, you watch a lot of Ultimate. If you could pick 2 players to play mini or in small spaces, I think these 2 guys would be number 1 and number 2, and I don't know which one you pick.
Yeah, if like I'm drafting my teammate for 2v2 mini, man, that's a tough call. Look at that throw from Osgar. Dropping down, getting that forward motion. I think I'd take Ryan Osgar, Brian. Who do you take?
He's got the release points. I mean, Jack, though, I don't think Jack can be guarded in the handler space. I don't know who does it. I mean, if Jack gets guarded, it's because he did something wrong.
By the way, Ryan Osgar entered the night 4th in the league in assists for the season. He's now number 1. He's passed by Bobby Lay and Pavel Giannis and his teammate Ben Yacht. Topher Davis makes that grab a yard shy of the goal line for Boston, and a quick flip to Willie Stewart. And well, they say he wasn't in, but Henry Babcock is in, so instead of taking 21 seconds, the possession took 23 seconds, and Boston finally gets a score.
I really feel like we've seen from Boston tonight kind of what's plagued them all season. They'll have 80% of their offensive possessions look like this, where they just do everything right and they score very quickly and it looks great. And then they'll make kind of inexplicable mistakes, decision errors, throwing too close to defenders, trying to do too much. And the problem really has, in my mind, has been that their O-line has not been able to get the disc back. D-line's able to get those breaks and create that separation. I mean, this team doesn't feel that far away from being in the playoffs, though. I mean, they have the tools to get there next season.
Well, they're 4-5 right now, and they had a fourth quarter lead against Atlanta and against Raleigh, and they were right there with Philly. I mean, it's an easy thing to say. You flip those 3 games, and then instead of being 4-5, they're, what, 7-2?
Totally different story. I go back to that Atlanta game that they lost early. Could have been a very different season if they win that game.
And that game also impacted the buy-in of some of the top players on this team. I mean, there's no way you can look at it and say otherwise. You get off to a good start. Wyan Weaver sending this one deep. 4 defenders chasing it. Jack Williams has won these battles before. He got hammered coming back for the disc, and they are going to call it interference on Chris Bartoli.
Wow. I'm not so sure. I thought Williams missed the disc, and any contact came after the fact. But it's going to be Williams' disc on the goal line. Watch it one more time. I mean, there's a little contact there, but is that enough to constitute a foul?
Williams to Chartok, who's in the end zone for the 4th time tonight. Elliot Chartok had 4 goals in his first 8 games this year, and he's got 4 goals in the first quarter and a half this evening.
I feel like we've seen referees let contact like that slide most of the season.
What do you think, Coach?
Jack's always going to get the call.
That's a superstar call. That's a little home cooking right there. And I mean, yeah, there's contact, but a lot of it is because he came down. I mean, Williams initiated a lot of the contact into the trail defender. But another goal for Elliot Chartok, this surely is his highest scoring game of of the season.
Not even close. He had scored twice in a game earlier this year and once in 2 other games for his 4 goals.
It really looks like Boston's trying to give him a tremendous handler pressure on Chartok. And as a result, they're giving so much pressure that he's getting open up line, and he's getting open a little bit more downfield than he normally would.
By the way, I want to give Matt Lamar a shout-out. He is inactive tonight for the first time in the history of the Empire franchise. He played in 121 consecutive games, the all-time Empire Iron Man, and it sure is strange to see him in the opposite jersey on the sideline. It's cool he's here supporting the team, but it's got to be a bittersweet, difficult night for him. Deep shot goes up, and that one, Cole Davis-Brand will run it down with room to spare. But Brian, what do you think about, I mean, it's tough. Matt Lamar, I mean, you look at his numbers, you watch him in person, he has not had his best year. I mean, we don't want to trash him too much, but he has not had his best season on the field. The Empire have all their depth available tonight. I wasn't too surprised that Matt Lamar isn't in the top 20, and yet at the same time, it's jarring to see an Empire team take the field without him, because in the 121 games since 2013, he's been out there on the field every single one of them.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, he's meant so much to this organization and been there through thick and thin. And one of the things that was great about 2019 was getting to win a championship with him. Just knowing everything, the journey he's been through made it so much sweeter. Him, the Dross, Pippen, who was on the team as well, Matt Oletta. Those guys really were journeymen that went through it, and it kind of is, it's a tough moment for him for sure.
By the way, that last goal, the 2 guys that threw it are younger in their combined age than New York's Nasser Empire-Vogel. Orion Cable to Cole Davis-Brand. They're both 20. Nasser's 42. And yet still running with the youngins.
By Vogel, he got himself a spot on this starting defense.
Awkward throw, but Ben Yacht bails out Williams by skying Chris Bartoli.
And a little high five. Some kisses to the crowd from Ben Yacht.
That's just knowing your receiver. Jack's not hanging this unintentionally. He knows what he's doing.
Jack Williams in power position, stepping into the forehand, and just sits up there, but Bartoli's out of position, and Yacht just goes up over the top. But doesn't happen to Bartoli all that much.
First goal of the game here for Ben Yacht, who's celebrating his 29th birthday today.
Yeah, Bartoli is one of those defenders that actually finds ways to get pressure on bigs. He gets some really high-profile blocks at big moments. It's one of those things where it's like, how do you teach that? I wish I could figure out that magic spell, what's happening in Boston and UMass.
Empire now 6 for 8 on Hucks.
The Empire defense have really been forcing Boston out here. For a while, it looked like they were doing a lot of contain, concerned about Cable. And since then, they've been doing a lot of force out, and Boston's gotten some easy scores. So this is about the time where you kind of want to flip that adjustment back and see if you can mess up Boston.
Brian, aside from New York, who have been your favorite teams or players to watch this season? I mean, you've come back to our media silo of things. You've got opinions. Which guys or teams have been most fun for you to watch because of the way they do things?
I think just watching Johnny Malks be perfect through the first half of the season was so impressive. I mean, he's been less so than that in the last 4 games, but I don't know how you guard that guy in the reset space. He can get it whenever he wants, and he can do it for high volumes.
We'll see Johnny in the DC Breeze tomorrow night as they take on the Raleigh Flyers. Hal cured miscommunication with Stewart, but Topher Davis there to bail him out, and then Orion Cable taking up the space in the back of the end zone to score his first goal of the night.
Great heads-up play from Davis. And Orion Cable was wide open on the far side of the field for a bunch of that point. And as soon as Davis looked up, just zipped the forehand over to him. I just can't say enough how promising Orion Cable is.
It's like watching a young Bo, maybe. You got to wonder, right? What did he look like when he first started out?
And I'll tell you what, I mean, I saw him dominating at YCC 2 years ago, and seeing him out here warming up this afternoon, I mean, he looks like he's grown 4 or 5 inches. I mean, he's gotten taller, he's gotten bigger, and he's obviously already an O-line stalwart at 19 years old.
We've seen college freshmen enter the college scene with slightly higher profiles because of the expanded youth coverage and explosion of Youth Ultimate, but hard to think of a freshman who's had more hype going into college than Orion Cable.
The last one I could think of is Liam Searles-Bose.
Played a season for the Raleigh Flyers, now at University of North Carolina.
I love this Warner and Williams matchup downfield. That's a really good one.
Ray Tatro on Ben Yacht. Thought about the backhand to Oscar. Still a reset for Williams. Double team coming. Chartok ready for it. Shimmies by it and hits Weaver. Weaver's unmarked as the defense recalibrates. Under 3 minutes to play in the half.
Boston making him work a little harder on this possession.
And there was a pick downfield, so Williams will march backwards 10. Glory are still looking for their first break of the game. Only had the one chance. That was early.
That's the thing. They got to get a block.
Ben Yacht got that disc back. Matt Stevens to Ben Yacht.
And when the Empire don't force it, it's just so hard to take the disc from them.
That looked like a pick. And the referees missed it.
But the trail ref's going to call it a pick. The ref that was right on the goal line called it a goal, and now they're going to confer, and it will be a pick, and that's the right call.
Cole Moore got thwarted in his attempt to keep up with his man by a New York player in the diagonal stack. So the Empire got to keep working in the red zone. Empire a perfect 6 for 6 in the red zone until now.
And all that pressure finally pays off for Boston.
And here's their second break chance. How aggressive will Sam Rosenthal be with a timeout?
You got to take it here. You got 2 timeouts left.
Unless you feel like New York's discombobulated and don't want to let Jack Williams and Ben Yacht and Jeff Babbitt get set. So far, so good for the Boston D-line. And now the timeout call made.
So the D-line will take themselves off the field.
Yes.
And again, right, that's a great call. We just saw the same thing on the other side from New York. You don't have a good look. You're facing a double team. Stalls at 4 or 5. You have to take that timeout. And New York lost their spacing a little bit, and eventually one errant throw just too far for Osgar, who lays out, can't get it. And then you were right, Evan, they were discombobulated, the New York O-line there playing defense. Boston goes all the way down the field, right to the goal line, then they take the timeout. This is a huge moment in this game.
Sure is.
Real heady play by Ethan Fortin. I've had the luxury to coach his older brother, Connor, for the Dragons, and Seth, the younger brother, for UConn. Didn't get my chance with Ethan, had a couple of other opportunities at tryouts before, but he's a smart player. He thinks about the game in a real heady way. And to be under that pressure and not try to force it and take that timeout, it's an underrated skill. We've seen it twice in this game.
Considering that you spent several years with the Dragons and had some late season games when your team was eliminated from the playoffs and you're going against a team with a lot to play for, what's the mission in terms of getting your team ready and convincing them they have a chance?
Well, it wasn't hard because we were playing Toronto, and a win against Toronto was going to be worth everything in that moment. Played them 4 times a year, and we got close a couple times.
Ben Sadok is going to see a double team. Marquez Brownlee and Ryan Drost. And even before the whistle, Sadok was throwing fakes. Gets the reset for Babcock. Sadok, so crafty in these small spaces, floats it for Babcock. Brownlee right there. And yikes, in the small space, Halkard doesn't need to do anything spectacular to bring the Glory back within 2. $1:15 to play in the half.
Think these Boston guys play a little mini, a little Goaltimate? You can see it here. Crafty pass by Sadok to Babcock, and then Babcock sees the Halkyard's right there, and Halkyard does a great job keeping the toes inside the end zone.
Yeah, ultimate players practice this. They lean out, they put their hand out of bounds calling for this at the cone just because anytime you can get an easy score. And with Halkyard, he's massive. He's so hard to get a block on because you can't get around him.
It's funny because I imagine you guys feel similarly to me. Like when we started playing Ultimate, we were taught never linger in that space. You can't just stay stationary right there. That screws up everything. But the best players are able to get away with it in the top level.
Yeah, just good recognition from Halkyard, who sees that the defenders are watching the disc and that he is open. And nice job by Babcock getting it to him.
Well, certainly the complexion of this game has shifted dramatically. Empire now have not scored in the last 4 minutes. Osgar trying to change that. Ben Yacht in the deep space, making it look easy. His second goal of the night, Ryan Osgar with 6 first-half assists.
Why not? You know, this is going to work more often than not. Even though he's in a flat-footed position, he's just such a great thrower. Kind of anywhere on the field, and Yacht with steps, put it up. Let the big man go down and get it. Bartoli beat again.
Officially 64-yard huck from Osgar to Yacht. Any Ben Yacht secrets you got for us about what it was like to coach him or what makes him tick?
It's fun. Yacht's always having fun. He's ready. He's another guy who's ready to compete. Like when the moment's big, he doesn't shy away from it. And that's the thing about this team is you've seen it throughout the season where they kind of can go to sleep. We were kind of the same way. We had a lot of, in 2019, we had a lot of small margins of victories. But these guys live for the moment. Yacht, Jeff Babbitt, Jack Williams, they're competitors. And so when they have something to play for, they show up. And they're not afraid of it.
Osgar now leading the game in plus-minus 6 assists and a pair of goals.
And Yacht already over 200 receiving yards. Boston deep shot floating into space. Cole Davis-Brand met by Ben Katz, and Davis-Brand makes the play. This 20-year-old doesn't have the same hype as Cable, but he's got some game, and he's a top-class thrower for his age. It's interesting. Stewart took a look back at the clock here, almost like Boston doesn't want to score too quickly. Shy of the goal line with 11 seconds, and they are in with 10.7 remaining. And look, the end of quarter situations are so important. I would have enjoyed one more throw there to maybe score with 6 seconds or fewer to go.
That's always a tough call. Like, when do you want to try to score? Because you don't want to leave yourself with zeros. But, you know, Brian, you've coached these situations. You've thought about these situations many times. What do you tell the guys in these kinds of spots when you have the disc, like, in the red zone with time getting close to zero?
Well, my job was really easy because I knew I could put on the field Jeff Babbitt, Ben Yacht, Bo Kittredge, Marquez Brownlee. And so I'm probably going to win a jump ball. So 10 seconds is pretty good. It's really, at some point, you run out of things to practice. You have a limited amount of time. So in these situations, we didn't try to screw it up. We just said, go score. And if you did it with 20 seconds to go, we'll find a way to play defense. There was, on the other side of it, defensively, we were worried about getting the ball back with 40 seconds to go so we could run a normal offense. That was a key for us.
Reminder, you can get in on the action. DraftKings free-to-play pool. Sign up with the promo code AUDL. Ben Katz floats it to Oscar with 4 seconds. Oscar, short of the end zone, a Yacht. Will he get it off? I don't think he did. It goes cross-field, and Orion Cable takes care of it. It'd be interesting to see if that was caught by a member of the Empire in the end zone. Would it have counted? I don't think Yacht got it off, but Cable, in a game with Babbitt, Yacht, Williams, Brownlee, etc., Cable has won the end-of-quarter situations, and it's Boston in a half in which they were outplayed within 2 at the break.
I think they got to be happy with that. You know, they did a good job at the end of the first quarter. You know, they score the last point of the first quarter, then they come out and they score the opening in the second. They get the break, and you know what? You're down 2. You're at New York. Got a chance to get a win and really spoil New York's night. Maybe keep them from having a home playoff game. It's a lot of fun if you're a Boston fan.
Brian, we'll let you go and enjoy the second half, but before we do, what would the pep talk be at halftime tonight?
We're doing well, and we can do better. We've got more to prove, and we got to keep rising in order to meet this challenge.
Like riding a bike. No rust at all in the Brian Jones coaching train. Brian, we'll see you at championship weekend. Enjoy the second half, and thanks so much for joining us here tonight.
Thanks, Evan.
13-11, Empire leading the Glory. First ever AUDL showdown between Boston and New York. An entertaining first 24 minutes tonight.
They say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is at DraftKings. You can compete for thousands in prizes in our free-to-play pools without spending a dime. Put your knowledge to the test by answering questions about specific games or events. The more you pick right, the better your shot to win and chow down on a cash casserole. Casserole. Download the DraftKings app now. Enter with the promo code PLAYFREE for thousands and make it rain.
Welcome to another edition of Lepler's Locks presented by DraftKings, where you can join our free-to-play pool every single weekend to earn your share of $1,000 just by making your picks on the results of the second half of our Free Friday Frisbee Spectacular. This week, it's New York hosting Boston. Just sign up for the DraftKings app with the promo code AUDL and then join us on the DraftKings Dream Stream Friday night for the Empire and the Glory. And of course, if you live in a state where it's legal to do so, you can make actual wagers on AUDL games via the DraftKings Sportsbook, and that's where I come in. If you haven't been watching past segments of Lepler's Locks, you've missed out. I'm 3-0 each of the past 2 weeks, and now 10-2 over the past month with my best bets. So let's stay sizzling hot as we head into week 12 of the AUDL season. It's the final full weekend of regular season action, which is always a little tricky. But here we go with my 3 locks for the upcoming Ultimate Slate. Number 1, I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phoenix +4 at home against the Boston Glory on Saturday night. Look, I believe that Boston is the better, more talented team in this matchup slightly. However, the Glory are going to be on the second night of a back-to-back. The Phoenix are going to be at home, where they just battled New York down to the wire last Friday. And Philly enters this game both with purpose and confidence. They want to finish their season strong on their home field. And from a confidence standpoint, they know they can beat Boston. They did so back in July, winning by 1 over the Glory in New England. So while I won't be surprised if Boston wins this game outright, I do think the Phoenix will keep it close. Take Philly +4. That's my first Lepler's lock. Number 2, I'm going with another home dog. The LA Aviators getting 1.5 against the San Jose Spiders. Frankly, I'm a little confused by this line, which does make me nervous, but I'll push through it. These are both 4-win teams. The Aviators already won at San Jose, and the Aviators were at home this weekend. So why is Los Angeles an underdog in this game? The answer is probably because the Spiders have won 2 straight, and they've looked pretty good doing it. But both those games have come against last place Seattle. I think the Aviators are going to give everything they got to try and close out their season with a home win. Hence, it's going to be close. Going with the points. LA +1.5. That's my second Lepler's lock. And for number 3, I'm looking at another pick'em game featuring 2 Atlantic Division powers. Raleigh at DC on Saturday night in Washington. Of course, last week the Flyers rampaging on the thrilling 5-0 run late in the 4th to edge Atlanta. And I had that one right, even though all game long it felt like the Hustle were in control. So a little nervous picking Raleigh 2 weeks in a row. Consequently, I'm going to take the DC Breeze. That's my pick. The Breeze at home to beat Raleigh this weekend. It's a pick'em line, so DC just has to win outright. Fully expect it to be another super close, entertaining game. But trusting the Breeze's track record of late game excellence, Just a great matchup, though. These two teams, both 8-1 in their last 9 games. Should be a great battle. I'm taking the breeze with my third and final Lepler's Lock this week. One final reminder to download the DraftKings app with the promo code AUDL and join our free-to-play pool for Friday's featured game between Boston and New York. And if you can, recognize I've been red hot with the picks this week. I've got Philly +4, Los Angeles +1.5, and DC in a pick'em. Those are my Week 12 Lepler's Locks.
Lithio looks huck early to Jack Williams. I think that one was drawn up early. And Williams just getting to it. A hand underneath Jack Williams on the goal line. Easy finish for Ben Yap, but the hard work was done. Make that Ryan Oscar instead of Jack Williams. It was Oscar who made that sensational grab.
Lawrence had quite the season for San Jose. Finds Jake Miller, who in turn finds Justin Norton. Lawrence has continued his run. Can Lawrence get there? Lawrence is hustling, diving, making the catch! Wow!
Throw is tailing away from Lawrence. This is a great catch.
That was outstanding. And he's pumped up. He's over here at the sideline.
Did not go their way right in their own end zone, so they're able to move it a little bit further now as Fanglin picks it up off the ground. And he slings it for, I think it was Adibay, and Adibay scoops it up for the score. Catch your blocks as Adibay scoops it up. The Outlaws are pumped up. It's 6-5. What an athletic play from number 12.
Oh, underneath defense from Christian Olsen.
To lead all scorers, 16 different scores for the two teams tonight. And we might have a goal for Martin Lee with a layup grab.
I believe that's Lee's second as well.
It is indeed.
Oh my goodness gracious, I'm hitting your slack shot. That is an amazing throw from Eckert. That is a forehand that crosses across the entire defense.
Gaining about 30, 40 yards on that. They'll work it up between Shepard and one of his teammates. Big hammer looking end zone. Beautiful throw from Shepard and a Thunderbird score. Max Shepard busting out the hammer on this one.
Ops for the up the line scoop.
Oh boy.
There's a big hammer.
Oh, great catch. One-handed. Spectacular effort there by Jack Brown.
This is just he absolutely rips this.
He does.
Although doesn't need to score particularly quickly, you just got to be efficient with an Ellis looking for Hunter. Mike McKenzie with the flying block.
Jake Taylor will come down with the pull from Sam Van Dusen. Gets it to Ben Sudoku, works it up now to Orion Cable. Lots of space. Looking deep for Topher Davis. Giving chase. Davis comes down with it. What a grab, Topher Davis.
So Aviators have been patient so far. And Landisman with the shot to the end zone and a beautiful grab.
The catch we were looking for.
By number 99, Brandon Van Dusen. Have yourself a game. Fourth goal with a spectacular layout grab.
I don't know, Charlie. As good as that Brandon Van Dusen snag was, the Topher Davis grab that he had against Pittsburgh was my top play of the week. I don't know about you.
You don't get to pick the top 10 rankings?
No, they don't consult with me on that.
No, I don't know
which
about
is fine.
that. I don't know about all that.
I don't need the response. I prefer to critique after the fact.
That's fair. That's
much
fair.
easier. First half numbers, what stands out the most? Pretty good offense from both sides.
Well, certainly good offense from both sides, but I mean, there's two things that stand out. Number one, the Glory only had 2 chances to break. And number two, they're only down 2 points despite getting 3 fewer breaks. And that, goes to that end of quarter situations. So, I don't think there's a lot that separates these two teams right now besides those mistakes from the Glory just giving away the disc a little too often. Looking forward to the second half.
Boston on defense to begin the third quarter. Individually, Ryan Osgar's +7 with 6 assists and 2 scores. Close to 400 yards of offense already. Jack Williams certainly hasn't been shabby either. 2 assists and a goal. Over 300 yards of offense, excuse me.
Boston sagging the throwing lanes, trying to force the Empire to make a lot of swing passes. That's how they got their turnover late in that first half. See the disconnect between the cutters and the handlers. There's a good sharp cut from Ryan Osgar.
Back to Chartok. And floating it into the deep space, looking for Stevens. Elevating just shy of the goal line, and those are the goals that Ben Yacht loves to get to pad the stats. Third goal of the night for Yacht, but Stevens with a play of the point.
Yeah, and that's exactly what has to happen for this Empire offense. Chartok recognizes that Stevens is basically being poached, and he gets it over to him, and yeah, Stevens has to go up, make a play, and he gets his second assist of the night. Look over to see if he was in the end zone. And so you could see that Stevens' defender was all the way on the strong side of the field, and when the disc swung around, they were able to hit it, and that's going to punish a defense that's trying to poach and take away those spaces that you want to throw to.
Second assist of the night for Stevens, who's the 4th all-time leading goal scorer in the history of the league, and closing in on Keenan Plew, who's just 3 goals ahead of him all-time. Be a tough weekend for Keenan Plew. He's fallen down the charts. Goose Helton has a chance to pass him for the league's all-time assist lead this weekend. If Goose has 4 assists or more in San Diego's game tonight against San Jose, Goose, who's been a journeyman but played in every single season in the league, 2-time MVP, will be the #1 all-time assist king.
Well, he's going to be hunting those stats for sure. Certainly capable of getting that many assists.
And if Pavlianis continues at the pace he's at, he'll probably pass Goose sometime in 2022. Pavel's basically got to 300 assists in half the amount of time it took anybody else.
I'm excited to see that Chicago team in the playoffs and perhaps a championship weekend.
Cole Davis Brand into double coverage, and there was contact, and that will be a foul.
Kind of a late whistle considering how obvious a foul that was.
Yeah, Charlie, the official playoff schedule has not been announced yet, but as we take a look at Cole Davis Brand's high stall blade, Halkert had position there, and Dross drilled him. The question is, was it a strip or was it pass interference? If it's a strip, it should be a goal. That's the debate right now, which frankly is taking too long. Officials have to make the call, and we got to continue. Playoff schedule. Next Saturday night in San Diego, Roughnecks, Growlers, with a berth in championship weekend on the line, and the whistles blaring, which Halkert thought meant we're good to go, but instead it was we're not good to go.
Yeah, a lot of confusion right now on the field. The officials. We gotta wait for the whistle. If you're Halkyard, he's saying he heard one, maybe.
Well, there were several whistles,
There
but they
were.
were I think whistles that we got to reset the clock, maybe. You don't have to stay still in the AUDL, so guys are moving around. The officials are there making sure everything is kosher. Feels like we're delaying an inevitable Boston score, but you never know. It will be Sadok from Halkyard. So next Saturday, Dallas at San Diego will decide the first berth to championship weekend. And then if Chicago wins against Detroit tomorrow, and the Mechanics have not won in close to 1,600 days. They did last beat Chicago late April of 2017. But assuming Chicago takes care of business on the road to Detroit, next Sunday afternoon, late afternoon in the Windy City, will be the Minnesota Wind Chill and the Chicago Union to determine the second spot championship weekend. These Atlantic Division matchups could be
go any which
jumbled
way.
a bit.
Yeah, Evan, you made a chart that you put on Twitter. It shows all the potential outcomes, and it's basically very, very difficult to assess right now. If you look at the percentage of chances, I mean, it really comes down to all of these games. And we have this game tonight. If New York goes 2-0 over these next two games, they're going to play a home playoff game, but they don't know who their opponent will be.
So here's the question I have for you about Dallas, San Diego.
Okay.
And the DraftKings folks out there will appreciate your expertise. What's the line for that game? What would you set the line at? I've got a number in mind. I talked about it with a couple people this week.
It's in San Diego. I think on a neutral site, it's probably close to a pick'em, so I'll make it San Diego minus 2.5, maybe 1.5. That's my number, Evan. What do you think?
I think Dallas should be a 1.5 favorite.
Wow, on the road.
I do. And I think making San Diego the favorite would not respect what has happened lately and what happened in the two regular season meetings when San Diego won by 1. Like, if you give me Dallas and 2.5 points, I am banging Dallas early. And, of course, we're not allowed to gamble. But here's a deep shot looking for Lithio, making the adjustment. Read that disc well to haul in the score.
That's a tricky catch to make. And John Lithio made it look easy. But the way this disc was coming in and the angle he had to take to go to it, it's very easy to drop it there because the spin is coming in the wrong way. So it's a forehand from Osgar. So the spin is going counterclockwise. And he's smart. He goes up with the left hand there, which makes it easier to make that catch clean. But really more difficult than it looks.
7 assists for Osgar. And I'm curious, if Dallas is plus 1.5, are you banging San Diego? I just feel like
I do think I'm going to probably want to take the team with points, but I'm going to have to go back and watch the tape from their most recent matchup when Dallas got that clutch win. I mean, obviously the Roughnecks, they've been so tough in the playoffs historically, and you got to respect that. But, you know, I think playing at home is a big advantage in the playoffs.
How'd Dallas do on the road in the 2017 and 2019 playoffs in Raleigh?
It's a good point, Evan. But I think that says a little bit more about Raleigh than it does about Dallas.
It just might. And again, we're not certain of Minnesota, Chicago being in the Windy City, but what do you think the opening line should be for Union Wind Chill?
I think it's probably Chicago minus 3.5.
That's exactly what I thought. So we're on the same page there.
I hope DraftKings doesn't listen to me, to be honest.
Looking for Cable. He didn't recognize the throw immediately, but he still had plenty of time. The nice put from Nick Thompson. And Orion Cable has his second goal.
That's a sign of great offense right there, because Cable just makes the cut, and then Thompson decides, okay, I'm going to throw it, because he looks up, he sees Cable going, and he throws it. And so Cable knows that he's already come into the space, and so when he turns over that right shoulder, he's looking to find the disc. And there it is. It's on a platter. No problem.
What do you think of Brian Jones's young Bo Kittredge comparison?
Well, I mean, it's always dangerous to compare a young player, to an all-time great.
Yeah.
But you can see the comp. Size, speed, aerial ability.
Yep.
The question is, will he have the killer instinct, the mindset of wanting to be a champion the way that we saw from Bo? Because that's not something that's easy to identify, especially at a young age.
And also, will he have the talent around him that Bo Kittredge put around him, especially as he got into his 30s?
Always a big factor. I mean, for a long time, Ashland Joy throwing monstrous full-field hucks to Bo Kittredge.
And later in his career, Jimmy Mickle and Dylan Freechild, and obviously with New York, Ben Yacht, Grant Lindsley, Jack Williams. Here's Ryan Osgar. Yacht versus Bartoli. Yacht wins it again.
And won. And Bartoli's just having a bad time tonight. I mean, there was some talk before the game on the sideline that, Bartoli has proven that he kind of is a Yacht stopper, and that Ben Yacht, has him in his head a little bit. But when you look at this, I mean, you're seeing Yacht just outplaying him. He's beat him deep. He's gone over the top. Here, McCann comes in, fouls him after he makes the catch. It's just, when Yacht is in position, it's so hard to stop him. I mean, I feel like there's only a couple players in the league, and one of them's on his own team, that could actually go up and get the block.
Ryan Osgar has 8 assists, and we still have 6:37 to play in the third quarter tonight, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, I think so far this game has been what I expected, which is lots of offense. And that's not to say that the defenses aren't playing well. It's just, this is an offensive game. You see it in other sports. The defense can play great, but if great offense beats great defense. And that's what we've seen so far tonight. And it's fun because it's different styles from both teams. You don't see these crafty throws as much from New York that you see from Sadok and this Boston lineup.
Willie Stewart. Sadok sneaking up line and then throwing for Halkert in the end zone, and he'll beat Mike Dross to the spot.
Halkert's third goal, and as advertised, he's just been a menace downfield. And it's not like the Empire don't know it's coming. Look at these yardage numbers. I mean, he's over 400 yards of offense now, 3 assists, 3 goals, kind of doing it at every level. And we saw early in the first half, they were backing Halkert and Cable, and Halkert was happy to come under and throw assists. And now he's getting open in the deep space.
That's the 5th goal tonight that has either been Sadok to Halkert or Halkert to Sadok. Those two guys have developed pretty good chemistry playing together this year.
And there's not so many, short, small handler and big deep cutter combos that are going to do that. They're going to have that versatility.
Yeah, that's a great point. You don't count Osgar as a small guy.
I don't think so. A true hybrid, as they say.
Yeah, Ryan's, according to the numbers I got, he's listed at 6'1", which basically puts him the same height as Jeff Babbitt. Although maybe Jeff Babbitt's been pulling a fast one on us all these years. All right, past the midway point of the third. Boston has kept the pressure on to the point that New York really needs to maintain its offensive focus. Another Osgar shot for Yacht. Warner in good position. Yacht may have pushed off, but there's no call. And it's a New York score.
Ryan Osgar assist, I think it was 9th of the day.
Unbelievable. I mean,
Ben Yacht, his 5th goal
honestly, in a lot of situations you'd say this is just not a good throw. You're throwing against their best deep defender, and that's good position defensively, but Yacht he's done such a good job tonight of holding position. And Osgar is just going to that back shoulder. And it's just saying, I see that Yacht has the height advantage here, and Warner is not going to be able to go up over the top. And I think maybe Warner was like, hey, you gave me a little forearm shiver there.
Well, he certainly did.
But you got to really extend that forearm, I think, to get that call. 5 goals now for Yacht. And look at that, 358 receiving yards and just 4 throwing yards. He's been a deep target tonight, and that's about it. But that's plenty.
Career high 9 assists for Oscar. Great defense downfield. That's Ryan Holmes, who's shaken up after getting the block.
Maybe just a cramp. Looks like he's just trying to get that calf stretched out. So just throw, I mean, the space was there, but it was short. And we've seen that a couple times from Boston tonight, where they had a deep cutter in the open deep space, and they left the throw short, and it gave the chance for the Empire defender to come and make a play.
So look, this New York team is top heavy with its talent, Williams and Yacht and Oscar, among others. But it doesn't seem crazy to kind of throw out the idea that New York's postseason life could come down to the complementary guys. Can Ryan Holmes come up with a big block in a big postseason game? Can Connor Klein and Josue Aloro? I mean, Aloro had a crazy block on maybe on a Dalton Smith reset in the championship game 2 years ago that helped us swing the momentum late.
I mean, Aloro's a special player. I mean, I think it's huge to have him back. You want to get him back in rhythm before the postseason. This is nice offense from this New York D-line.
There's a pick downfield, so Mbai Vogel will retreat 10 yards.
And now this is a spot where the New York coaching staff is maybe thinking, do we want to try to take a timeout here, extend this lead to 4?
Now they already
trust the D-line.
Already have Jack Williams on there. It came on for Holmes. It does feel like a big spot in the game. All Chesse, inside flick to a wide open Marquez Brownlee. He'll go over the top, floats it a bit, but it will work. And it's Connor Klein hauling in the goal when Halkerd was right there hunting the block.
Oh, dangerous pass from Brownlee. So Brownlee catches it, shallow break space. Little pump fake to move the mark to that side and goes back cross field. Hangs it a little too much, too close for comfort, but gets it over the top of Halkerd. Connor Klein hauls it in.
Got a fingertip on that.
Let's see one more time.
Maybe not.
It was close. Just enough sharp blade on that throw to get over the top and into the hands of Klein. That's back to a 4-point lead for New York.
Marquez, obviously the YouTube sensation. He first joined YouTube March of 2008, Charlie. He was 14 years old. He now has 14.4 million subscribers. After 100 videos, guess how many subscribers he had?
100 videos. I'll say 5,000.
After 100 videos, he had 78 subscribers. Now he has around 1,000 videos for about 2.6 billion views.
He's one of the best creators on YouTube. There's no question. When I need tech tips, that's where I go.
Absolutely. Great defense there. Ryan Drost not calling the foul on himself. Boston was asking for it. This is danger time here for Boston. Mike Drost. Crossfield hammer. Ruschmeyer Bailey looking for Babbitt. He came back for it. Some contact with Stewart, but we play on.
New York did a great job moving it to the break side and then tacking downfield. Now red zone time.
If there's something to be taken from that Marquez Brownlee stat about his YouTube page as he throws another assist for another Empire break, it's don't give up on your dream to be a creator, because it can take some time to get an audience. But Marquez Brownlee, both in the tech landscape and the ultimate landscape, has grown up really nicely.
Fans loving what they're seeing. Brownlee with another assist. There's the block. I don't know if I saw much there. I mean, maybe a little bit of a bump, but there was a hanger throw. And then Brownlee going back to the break side again, putting up the hammer. And Babbitt all alone. Brownlee making his impact felt on this D line. And they're doing a really good job of identifying that Boston is overloading the strong side and getting it back across to the weak side of the field.
Assists on back-to-back points for Marquez, his 8th and 9th assists of the season. Back-to-back New York breaks to stretch the lead to 5. Cole Davis-Brand on the under. And Halkyard hit by Fetter.
Halkyard's just too big.
The even bigger defender, Benyat, comes over and up the line it goes to Topher Davis.
Such a clever throw. I mean, they do that all the time. They'll do it on hucks, too. They get those vertical slashing cuts. So Halkyard able to throw completely out of this double team because he doesn't have to go back across the grain. Yacht's trying to stop the swing here. And Halkyard anticipates this cut and throws it way before the defender has a chance. And it's too late at that point. Easy score.
Topher Davis, former University of Oregon star, making an impact now in his 4th game as a member of the Boston Glory. Halkyard picks up another assist, and we remind you that you can play free for thousands in cash all season long with the DraftKings free-to-play pools. Just download the DraftKings app today and use the promo code AUDL when you sign up. Charlie, it's going to be a little confusing next weekend, but you know how, like, in the NFL playoffs, you know, the welcome to Sunday Night Football, but it's like a Saturday afternoon game with Al Michaels and the team. Next Saturday, we have Free Friday Frisbee live on DraftKings, San Diego and Dallas in the playoffs with championship weekend on the line. So that game will be exclusively on the DraftKings YouTube and Twitch. And we're still calling it Free Friday Frisbee because you know how I feel about alliteration. But that'll be Saturday night in San Diego.
Which game are you looking forward to more?
Between the two next weekend?
Yes.
I mean, it's got to be the San Diego-Dallas game just because both those teams went to championship weekend 2 years ago. Both have a track record of winning. You know, the Chicago-Minnesota game is interesting, too, because neither of those teams have been to championship weekend in the last 7 years. Chicago went way back in 2013 when the league was a much different thing than it is now. But yeah, I mean, coming into the season, I think you could make a pretty good case that San Diego and Dallas, great handler defense there by Alex Donadio. I'm going to say you can make a case that they were two of the best 4 or 5 teams in the league. Both have had their ups and downs. The deep shot goes up. Bartoli in the end zone for Boston with just the Glory's second break of the night.
Well, Chris Bartoli hasn't had a ton of success on the defensive side of the disc, but that's a huge play right there. Going deep, showing off the wheels, and again, a big moment at the end of the quarter. I mean, it was looking like Boston was about to be out of this game, but look at this defense from Donadio. He's able to continue covering his defender, or his mark, and see the disc and get that block. And then other direction, boom, quick attack. Bartoli's got it.
Donadio had his first AUDL block last week against Pittsburgh. Glory coach Sam Rosenthal telling me before the game, Donadio is without question our most improved player from when the season started to now. Cole Moore with a nice throw. And look, Boston was down 5 with 2:26 to go in the third. Now 26 seconds left. It's a 3-goal game again. Boston will receive to start the fourth. An important end-of-quarter situation yet again, and so close. Brendan McCann to a block in the backfield.
You wonder if he left his feet, would he have had it?
15 seconds remaining.
If you're Boston, you're just trying to get a stop here.
Jack Williams with 7 seconds. Throws a cross-field thumber, and Yacht makes the tumbling grab in the back of the end zone for the Empire.
What a catch on a crazy throw.
Jack was practicing this on the field pregame. I said, what was that? He said the fadeaway thumber.
And he goes to it. He moves it into position. He knows he wants it. And he puts it up. And it's a tough throw for Benyat to deal with because it's coming in and he has to turn his head. And he still manages to get 2 hands on it. Unbelievable catch from Yacht on the thumber. Wow.
And for a guy that prides himself on not turning the disc over, Jack Williams pulling a tool out of his bag that you don't see very often.
But it's just been the yacht show tonight. I mean, going up 2 defenders, people in better position than him, it doesn't matter. He's going up over the top of everybody. Here, Warner goes up, no problem. Yacht's got it.
And mistake by the Glory there. Sadok trying to gain some yards to Cole Davis-Brand, and time ran out at the end of the quarter, so the Boston Glory will trail by 4 as we head to the 4th.
Are you ready to try to win some prizes?
I mean, wonder where this New York team would be without the University of Minnesota Grey Duck duo. Ryan Osgar, 2 goals, 9 assists, 640 total yards in the game. Ben Yacht, 1 assist, 6 goals. He's just under 400 yards. An impressive third quarter from the Empire.
Dominant stuff from this Empire O-line. Boston's doing what they can to try to hang in, but you see the talent differential on this New York team.
Empire outscored the Glory 7-5 in that third quarter to double the lead at half. It's a 4-goal game as we head to the 4th on our final regular season Free Friday Frisbee of the season.
They say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is at DraftKings. You can compete for thousands in prizes in our free-to-play pools without spending a dime. Put your knowledge to the test by answering questions about specific games or events. The more you pick right, the better your shot to win and chow down on a cash casserole. Casserole. Download the DraftKings app now. Enter with the promo code PLAYFREE for thousands and make it rain.
Ben Yacht and Ryan Osgar have been dominant tonight, and you think about the comparison of New York versus their other top 3 or top 4 teams in the Atlantic, DC, Atlanta, and Raleigh. No one else has a duo like this, Charlie, and that's what feels like separates New York right now.
I think we've seen that when New York, the offensive line goes out there with focus and intensity, that they're the best team in the Atlantic. I think it's that simple. I mean, they've almost gone unbroken tonight. They've given up the 1 break. I think it's 2 now. They just gave up the second one a moment ago. But, you know, if your offense goes out there in a game and only gives up 2 breaks, you're going to win. I mean, it's not like their D-line's the best in the league, but you can't stop Ben Yacht out there in the deep space.
It's been a happy 29th birthday thus far for Ben Yacht through 3 quarters, and here's another stat for you, Charlie. First 11 weeks of the season, 111 total games. There were 8 instances of a player recording 300 receiving yards and 300 passing yards in a game. It's only happened 8 times. Number 9 is Ryan Osgar tonight. He's got it through 3 quarters. 319 receiving, 321 throwing, and still 12 minutes to go.
Well, I mean, as good as Yacht has been, Osgar has been a close second tonight. I mean, doing different things on the field. But I think you see right now why people still feel that New York is the team to beat. They're the defending champs, but more than that, they have the offense that has the tools to go out and get a win against anybody in the Atlantic Division and ultimately in the league.
First point of the 4th quarter, and Orion Cable makes a tough sliding snag with Jeff Babin in his grill. Reset to Babcock. Saves possession and then scoobers downfield for Halkyard, and Drost went flying by. That was Mike Drost sailing past Halkyard. And yikes, Davis Brand got bumped by Mike Drost, who was trying to recover and get downfield.
Well, ultimately, all of the overselling by New York defenders gave an easy move up the field for Boston. But the Empire sure came close to getting the block on that point. As Sadok gets into the end zone for another one.
If you're New York, though, anytime Boston scores and takes over a minute off the clock, that's a pretty good possession when you enter the fourth quarter with a 4-goal lead.
Yeah, this Boston defense is going to have to ratchet it up here.
Easier said than done.
There's no question about that. They only have 4 total blocks in the game. And 2 of them have come from Orion Cable, who plays on their O-line.
End of quarter situations when New York is just throwing it up there. So only 2 blocks in the run of play. One was Donadio on the reset.
And Cam Werner.
That's right. That was, what, the 3rd point of the game? Second 0 point for New York.
But it's tough to find answers.
Especially when New York doesn't beat themselves. Been a few risky shots tonight, but for the most part, New York has played relatively conservative. And look, when they've taken what would be a 50-50 shot for most players, it's to Ben Yacht, and he makes it an 80-20 shot pretty quick. We can spend so much time talking about Yacht and Oscar, and that doesn't mention Lithio and Williams, who also are capable of dominating a game for an extended stretch. Lithio looking for Yacht, and that's well done. Yacht set that cut up nicely. I don't know what you would call that. My college team, that was the S cut.
That's what they call it still. So Yacht points early, and then he makes the hard cut towards the break side space, and look at the footwork. He's able to get all the way slowed down, turned around, and there's just nothing but acres of space over there. And that one, it doesn't even have to really try. Great cut by Yacht. Such a dangerous player on this big field. And a nice job by Lithio, too. Good throw out into space. He's been improving as a thrower. Yacht just keeping it rolling right now. Now 7 goals on the game.
And that last goal tied him with Detroit's Andrew Sjogren for the league lead. It's certainly very possible. Sjogren has one more game tomorrow against Chicago. Yacht has one more game against Boston next week. And we're seeing tonight that Boston doesn't have a whole lot of answers for Yacht, but then again, who does? And let me ask you that question. Among DC, Atlanta, and Raleigh, who do you think will have the most answers defensively for this New York O-line?
I think we've already seen the answer, and it's Atlanta. I think Atlanta's zone scheme.
Tight space for Sadok, and it's ripped away by Ryan Drost.
2 taller defenders. Sadok just not going to have the advantage in that situation. Atlanta's zone defense is able to take them out of what they want to do.
Rushmeyer Bailey, a gorgeous deep lefty backhand hook, and Noah Chunmoy runs it down. Chunmoy to Ryan Drost, who's got the bookends for New York. And if the D-line can convert like that, Rushmeyer Bailey, Chunmoy, and the timeless Ryan Drost, who's got at least 1 block in every single game this season for New York, Empire are going to be in good shape heading down the stretch.
Well, you said it earlier, you're going to need some good plays from the rest of their team. And you see Drost go up and get the big block on Sadok, and then a gorgeous hook the other direction for Rushmeyer Bailey. And then, Drost running the field. It's like feeding the big man in the post.
Yeah.
Got to get it to him, and he does get the goal. And Ryan Drost, that's great numbers for somebody on a D-line. You ignore the negative yardage. That doesn't matter. He's got a goal, and he's got 2 blocks.
And he's got 141 career goals and 166 career blocks. He's, I believe, now just 9 shy of his brother Mike, who's the all-time leader in the league. Peter Graffi, Andrew Meshnick, longtime Madison Stars, 2nd and 3rd. The two Dross, 1st and 4th all-time in blocks.
I mean, they've been doing it forever for this Empire franchise, back in the Faceless Army days.
This Army has some faces now.
That certainly does.
We haven't spent too much time talking about Jeff Babbitt before. But, I mean, Sam Rosenthal said he thought Jeff Babbitt has a case to be the MVP of this team. They're going to call that a strip, and looks like it's going to be a goal for Boston.
That'll be a glory goal.
But Babbitt's presence on both sides of the disc is significant.
It just feels like he's going to come up big in the postseason at some point. Easy call there, Davis. Clapping that one. Let's watch it one more time. I mean, the course of question is, did he stop the rotation?
Yeah, I don't like that call ever. That may be a foul, but he did not have possession of the disc, in my opinion. And I think this is called too much an ultimate. Strips are way too frequently called.
He has to stop rotation completely, and I mean, it's very close. Because clearly he's got his hands on the disc, but has he stopped rotation before the defender is able to knock it away?
And it's not like Babbitt was egregiously late. He got there right as he was making the catch. He had his hands on it, but he didn't stop rotation. Maybe that's a foul, but I'm not sure that should be a strip. Anyway. New York back on offense, and Lithio's going deep, and Yacht's going to put it, and he underthrew it, and Bartoli's got the block.
And I think this is the thing that kind of frustrates the Empire coaching staff about Ben Yacht, is that just too many times in a game he makes a mistake like that one, where he doesn't need to make that throw, leaves it short, and now you give Boston some hope late in the game.
Second throwaway for Yacht tonight on just 17 throws. Yacht -4 throwing yards. He's got 449 receiving yards, though. Deep shot from McCann, easily swatted down by Yacht, who's made a habit of getting the disc back.
He did it earlier tonight. I mean, he does lead the team in turnovers per game.
And he also is among the team leaders in blocks. A couple weeks ago, he was leading the team in blocks. Narrowly getting that one over Ethan Fortin's reach. At any point that takes more than a minute off the clock is a good thing for New York right now. Boston missing a chance to get one back, and now the deep shot goes up again for Lithio. He'll snatch that one. To Osgar, looking for his 10th assist of the night. And Yacht, not in the end zone. Yeeks, that will work.
Yeeks is right, Evan. It will work, though. And another goal for Elliot Chartok.
The striker.
We always knew he was going to be one of the goal leaders in this game. Now second to Yacht. That's his 4th goal of the night. There's the block. Bartoli able to knock away the short throw, but it's Ben Yacht getting it back. 2nd time tonight. He's been able to recover a mistake. And here a little high release flick. Chartok, the happy recipient.
Can't be anyone with a higher release flick than Ben Yacht just threw right there.
And check that, that's Chartok's 5th goal tonight. So just 1 assist, 5 goals, but he does have 370 throwing yards.
Well, he had been over 400 throwing yards in each of his first 6 games, and then had his 2 smallest throwing yardage total games of the season last weekend. I mean, he still threw for 360 at Philly, then season low 299 against Pittsburgh. It raises the question of the value of throwing yards, because you don't just want to look and be like, oh, he's 100 yards more per game than anyone else in the league. He's got to be a superstar, because he plays his role and sets up the cutters downfield. That's what they want him to do. And I don't mean that as a slight at Elliott Chartok, but I think even he would acknowledge that he doesn't really care about how many yards he throws for. And I doubt he would argue that he deserves to be the MVP because he's got more than 100 yards throwing per game than anyone else in the entire freaking league.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about facilitating the offense. And if that comes with yards, then great. And if it comes with just being a reset and then chipping it over to Ryan Oscar, that's fine too.
Halkyard looking for another assist, and he's got it. Topher Davis is a nice fit in this Glory O-line.
He's played really well tonight. And some folks like seeing that score right there. Ben Sadok getting it into the end zone.
Very Brent Musburger, Al Michaels of you.
I guess I could talk about it a little more openly here on the DraftKings Free Friday Frisbee.
What was the over-under?
Line closed at 41.5 tonight, Evan.
So the over is a winner.
The over is a winner. And we also, the line closed at Boston plus 4.5. So some intrigue down the stretch here.
5 goals for Davis. And as I said, his 4th game of the season. He's played really well, especially the last couple. Ryan Oscar having himself a great game, and that will work. His 10th assist of the night. And Benyat has 8 goals. And those two guys are positioning themselves well to be the league leaders in each of those representative statistical categories when their regular season comes to a close.
So look, Benyat leading the game plus minus is plus 11. He's got 8 goals, he's got 2 assists, got 3 blocks. He's got 500 yards of offense. Has he had the better game, though, than Ryan Oscar, who now has 10 assists, 2 goals, and almost 700 yards of offense?
I think if it was Oscar's birthday, you'd say he had a better game.
That's a good tiebreaker.
But it's his birthday, Benyat celebrating his 29th today.
King of the week? Could I maybe throw that out there? I know it's early in the weekend.
He could be the first 2-time King of the Week this year. Again, I don't have any say on that either. Well, you think I would. It was good to see King Keenan this past week. Keenan Lawrence of the San Jose Spiders, who had a huge game in their win over Seattle. Spiders have won 2 in a row. After a 2-6 start to the season, they got 2 more games this weekend. San Diego tonight and LA tomorrow. Yes, in the locks, I predicted LA plus 1.5, but I certainly think San Jose is capable of finishing their season strong. And they have, for a while, been targeting, look, we want to finish the season 6-6 and carry that momentum into 2022. We'll see if they can do it.
I mean, trying to finish 500, that's a real thing.
Boston to Cole Davis Brand in the back of the end zone. 3:11 to go. Again, we've seen crazier things happen in terms of deficits overcome, but Boston with a ton of work to do in the next 3 minutes and 10 seconds. A look at the Week 12 schedule does not include the San Jose game that's coming up later this evening on the West Coast. Mentioned Chicago needs to win to officially clinch home field in the playoffs. If Detroit were to shockingly beat them, then the Minnesota Wind Chill could potentially win against Madison. The intrigue in that game, the Radicals are seeking their 100th win in franchise history, something no franchise has done. So they don't want to finish the season on 99 wins, and they have some unfinished business against Minnesota after what happened in the very first edition of Free Friday Frisbee on the DraftKings Dream screen.
Crazy to think back to that. One of the best games of the year.
And if that game had finished with a Madison win, they were up 1 with the disc with 2 seconds to go, this game against Minnesota would literally be for the playoffs. Instead, Madison has already been mathematically eliminated, but They sure would love to get the win. I asked my fellow AUDL analyst on AUDL Weekly this past week, Charlie, a question that I'm curious to ask you as well. I'm going to phrase it slightly differently. What's more likely? Minnesota winning the AUDL championship this year or Detroit beating Chicago tomorrow?
I'm going to go with Detroit beating Chicago. Because Chicago is not sending their absolute again.
Weaver to Yacht.
That's a quick block by Ryan Weaver, who picks up
unbelievable.
Adam Ruffner, Daniel Cohen said the same thing, which to me is throwing all sorts of shade at the wind chill.
No.
This team that hasn't won in over 4 years, you think there's a better? All they have to do is win 3 games in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, they got to
get
beat
hot.
the best teams in the league. I mean, sure they can, but I think they're going to be the underdog in any matchup. And I think that Detroit already came close. I mean, came close is maybe a little strong. They played tough against Chicago when Chicago didn't have their best lineup out there. And once again, we're seeing Chicago rest some starters this week. And, you know, maybe feeling confident that they're going to win that game regardless. So I think Detroit has a real shot. And I think the odds of Detroit winning that game are probably 15%. And I think Minnesota's chances of winning the championship are probably more like 7 or 8%. Very specific number for you.
Well, New York was just called offside, I believe. So Boston will get the disc at midfield to begin this point. They will stop the clock. Just under 2 minutes to play. New York's going to improve to 9-2. They have not guaranteed themselves a home game. They, depending on other results this weekend, might still need to win in Boston next week. But the Empire take certainly one step closer to a top 2 spot, which would mean we'd be back here at Focina Field either 2 weeks from tonight or 2 weeks from tomorrow night for an Atlantic Division play-in game to championship weekend. That's going to be a heck of a 28 hours. Friday night, Saturday night, we don't know the matchups, we don't know the locations. We know it'll be 2 of the 4 cities hosting, the other 2 on the road. Oh, goodness! Oh, Ryan Cable has one more highlight for us tonight. Wow. How did he snag that one?
I mean, he caught this one trailing edge, I'm pretty sure. We're going to get a look at it here. Babcock kind of feeling the stall count getting high and just says, all right, I'm going to throw it to the big man. And good pressure here from Brownlee, and Cable just goes out and snags that trailing edge. And again, that is not an easy catch.
Yeah, he makes it look really easy on the replay. But go in the backyard and throw a hammer like this with a defender in your pocket, over your shoulder, a disc that's falling away from you, and grab it with one hand upside down like that.
We saw him do the right thing. He got the thumb on the bottom, and a great catch from young Orion Cable. Back within 4.
Boston taking a page out of the Empire playbook right here. Chartok. Well thrown hammer. Low, targeted perfectly for Osgar. One minute to go. First ever meeting between Boston and New York in the AUDL. It was supposed to happen in Boston on July 17th. That game was postponed. Many in the Empire were not happy about that game getting postponed. They thought they could play, but some lightning was initially in the area, and then some folks saw more lightning. Others didn't think there was more lightning, and the game, in somewhat controversial fashion, was postponed. Means the Empire going to have to go back there. That's a tough grab by Ryan Weaver to save Elliot Chartok from another throwaway.
Just burning clock.
That's all they need to do. And if you have Boston plus 4.5, you're hoping that
they keep doing it.
New York just is content.
Only a couple more passes before they can hold it.
Will they take one more shot to the end zone? Osgar is going to complete it one more time. This line hanging to the balance, and That's a bad beat if you had New York -4.5.
Oh, man. Almost a 2-minute possession for New York, and they close it out with the 4-point win. Wow. I mean, a dominant performance from this Empire team. And a couple little slip-ups here and there, but for the most part, this was the best we've seen their offense play probably in the last 4 or 5 weeks. And Boston Glory, offense looked good, but their O-line couldn't get it back when they turned it over, and the D-line was just never able to find those blocks. They hope to do better next week in Boston.
Both teams, Charlie, with a season low in turnovers tonight. Makes sense, not much wind. Glory turned it over 12 times for the game. The Empire turned it over just 8 times all game long. And Ben Yott and Ryan Osgar had half of those throwaways. But probably the two kings of the game here in our final regular season edition of Free Friday Frisbee presented by DraftKings.
Ben Yott, 9 goals, 2 assists, and 3 blocks. I mean, really just doing it all. And he's going to be a key for this team in the postseason. There's no question about it. He's proven to be a gamer. So has Jack Williams. Look at Jack Williams in the clutch a couple weeks ago here in New York against Raleigh. And Ryan Osgar has never shown an ounce of fear on the field.
Jack Williams finishes the night as the game's leading thrower in terms of yardage. Almost 500 yards throwing for Jack Williams. Ryan Osgar finishes 374 throwing, 370 receiving. That's 744 total. One of the better all-around games of the season, considering his 10 assists. I don't know. Depending on what happens the rest of the weekend, both Osgar and Yott might get a spot in the coveted honor roll. That comes out Monday on the AUDL.com. Entertaining game. Boston Glory certainly had their fair share of highlights. But in the end, the New York Superstars were too much. Ben Sadok and the rest of the Glory will get another shot at the defending champs and still a chance to deny them home field advantage in the playoffs. That'll be next Sunday afternoon, the 29th of August at noon in Medford, Massachusetts. But the Empire victorious tonight behind Yott, Lithia, Williams, Oscar, and many, many others. 25-21 is the final. Charlie and I will talk to you tomorrow night from D.C. Flyers Breeze, an our AUDL game of the week for our entire crew. Good night from New York.